Good morning, and this is lesson 2.6, ratios and proportions. Ratios and proportions. So we have a couple of important definitions here I want to touch on. First of all, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. The ratio of x to y can be expressed three different ways. We can write it with the word 2, x to y, with a colon, and most commonly, we write it as a fraction, x over y. Please remember, we express ratios in simplest form. An equation that says two ratios are equal is called an equal proportion. An equation that says two ratios are equal is called an equal proportion. And how we solve equal proportions, we've talked about that, is we cross multiply. So one more time, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. There are three different ways that we can express them. We can express them as a fraction with the word 2, or we can express them with a colon. Our first example here is to determine whether or not these two ratios are equivalent fractions. So we have the ratio 24 over 36 and 12 over 18. So the easiest thing I think to do would be to go ahead and reduce each of them. Reduce 24 over 36. They're both divisible by 12. 24 divided by 12 gives us 2. 36 divided by 12 gives us 3. So in simplest terms, this first fraction here would be equivalent to 2/3. 12 over 18, they are both divisible by 6, and that would also give me 2/3. So the ratios 24 over 36 and 12 over 18 form a proportion because they are equal when expressed in simplest form. Now, if that doesn't go well with you, there is another way to do it. You can use cross products. This will work every single time. So if we want to determine if 10 over 18 and 25 over 45 form an equal proportion. So we have 10 over 18 equals 25 over 45. And when we use cross products or cross multiply, you multiply the top left with the bottom right, 10 times 45, which is 450, equals 25 times 18, which is also 450. If they are equal, then your answer would be yes, they form a proportion. Are y'all with me? Okay, so let's try one. Bless you. Let's try 5/8 and 10 over 15. 5/8 and 10 over 15. So we're trying to find out if they form an equal proportion. Okay, so we're all trying this one right now. Find out if they form an equal proportion. So remember to cross multiply. Okay. Anybody have an answer for me? Yes, I saw your hand first. What did you get? They are not an equal proportion. So let's see why. When I cross multiply, I multiplied 5 times 15, which gave me 75, and 8 times 10, which gave me 80. 75 does not equal 80. Does anyone have a question? Are you sure? Do you understand the concept? Okay. I'd like to move on to the second part of the lesson because I would like to spend a lot of time here. That way tomorrow in class you could be working on the homework for this. Remember, today's Wednesday, there is no homework. So let's go ahead and look at part 2 of the lesson. So you are now going to be on page 10 of your notes. Please remember that if a proportion involves a variable, you can use cross products to solve the proportion. In the proportion x over 5 equals 10 over 13, x and 13 are called the extremes. 5 and 10 are called the means. In a proportion, the product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means. So I'm going to make your life easy. I'm not going to make you have to remember which is the extremes and which is the means, because 90% of the students always confuse it. What I do want you to know is to solve an equal proportion, we cross multiply. So let's do a couple of examples. I know they're worked for you, but I want you to understand what we're doing. X over 5 equals 10 over 15. So we saw problems like this earlier in chapter 2. Remember?
Is the denominator 13 or 15?
It's 13. Thank you so much. We saw problems like this earlier, and remember, we didn't know how to solve them by using an equal proportion, but I went ahead and gave you a sneak preview. So this is actually an extremely easy way. The other way of doing it, of course, would be to multiply everything on both sides by 5 and then to solve. You'll get the same answer. So we're solving for x. So we're going to cross multiply. X times 13 equals 13x. And 5 times 10 equals what, guys? 50. We divide each side by 13, and we get as an answer 50 over 13. Now you can reduce that. I'm going to be telling you that I am okay with an improper fraction. Did you all hear me? I am okay with an improper fraction. I don't have a problem with you leaving your answer right there. However, if on a test or on a quiz, please listen carefully. If on a test or on a quiz you write 50 over 13 equals, and then you tell me it's 3 and 9/13, you have simplified it incorrectly. Your answer is now incorrect. Did you understand? And you know how to do that on your calculator, yes? You know how to change from a Okay, good job. All right, so let's go ahead and try. Here we go. Let's give you one to do. You're going to try these two right here. -3, number 1, and number 2. -3 over x equals 2 over 8. That's a big number 1. And number 2, 1 over t equals 5 over 3. So while you do those two, I'll do them as well. I'm going to freeze the screen and I will work the problem out as you're working it. You may work these in your packet. Okay. Do we have an answer? Yes? Go ahead and check with a friend. Go ahead and check with a friend. Okay, here we go. We have two answers. Joseph, can you tell me what you got for number one? Number one, x equals negative 12. And what did we get for number two, Joseph? T equals 3/5. These are both correct, so let's take a look. Negative 3 over x equals 2 over 8. Cross multiply negative 3 times 8 is negative 24 equals x times 2 is 2x. Negative 24 divided by 2 equals a negative 12. Remember, divide each side of the equation by negative 2. Y'all with me? Yes. Our second example, 1 over t equals 5 over 3. Cross multiply t times 5 is 5t. 1 times 3 is 3. Divide each side by 5. T equals 3/5.
I got 0.6 because I divided
Okay, you can leave it as a fraction.
my...
Okay? That's not incorrect, though. Okay, now I want to move on to the second example here that's in your notes, still on page 10, and I want to make sure that I stress this. This is extremely important. When we have an equal proportion where either a numerator or denominator has more than just a variable, it is necessary and most important for you to put parentheses around it. We use the parentheses so you don't forget when you cross multiply to use the distributive property. The problem in your notes is written as such. If I don't put the parentheses around x minus 2, I might forget when I cross multiply that I need to multiply everything x minus 2 by 7, not just the x. Did you understand what I said? So I would put a really big asterisk or 2 asterisks there, whatever you have to do, and I'm going to work this problem for you. So this would become 7 times the quantity x minus 2 equals 2 times 14, or 7x minus 14 equals 28. Are you all with me? Yes? Now what do I do to each side? Who knows? Add 14. Good job. What's 28 plus 14 give me? And I have 7x equals 42. We can all solve that. Divide each side by 7, and x equals 6. Now, how do you think you could check your work? Real quickly, watch what you could do. Take 6 and plug it in for x. 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 over 14 actually reduces to 2 over 7. Are you with me? Okay. Okay, I'm just going to tell you that I am really big on word problems, so I want you to know that. I want you guys to do number 4 and number 5. 4 and number 5. Don't forget parentheses. 4 and 5. In a minute. This one right here. Are you good? Yes. Okay, so we're all trying 4 and 5, and I'm going to freeze the screen and I'm going to work it while you're working it. Don't forget your parentheses. Okay, do we have an answer? Who has an answer for number 4? Yes, what did you get?
I got x equals 4. No, x equals 8.
X equals 2 is correct. And who has an answer for number 5? Yes, thank you. Y equals 26 is correct. So here we go. For this first one, we're going to go ahead and cross multiply. We put parentheses. So 4 times the quantity x plus 1 gives me 4x plus 4 equals 3 times 4 or 12. We subtract 4 from each side. We get 4x equals 8. We divide each side by 4 and we get x equals 2. On number 5, we went ahead and we cross multiplied. 18 times y plus 1 equals 9 times 54. When you use the distributive property here, you get 18y plus 18 equals 486. Subtract 18 from each side, and you get 18y equals 468. Divide each side by 18, y equals 26. Does anyone have a question? How many people got both of those right? Outstanding. Okay, I want to spend time on word problems. I'm just going to share with you that I'm really big on word problems because most word problems can be solved by using an equal proportion. So let's go ahead and look at these two word problems together. I will do one with you and then we'll let you do the other one on your own. To make a model of the Guadalupe riverbed, Hermie used 1 inch of clay for 5 miles. So he said 1 inch equals 5 miles. Or you could say 1 inch is to 5 miles. The model river was 50 inches long. How long is the Guadalupe River? So the model that he did, the river was 50 inches. And we want to know the actual length of the Guadalupe River. So let's just remember, the key here when solving a word problem is to be consistent. If 1 inch equals 5 miles and his model was 50 inches, how long was the river? So what we do here is we make sure we're consistent. We can put inches over miles equals inches over miles. So we may set this up like 1 over 5 equals 50 over x. We cross multiply and we get 1x equals 5 times 50 or what? 250. So how long was the Guadalupe River? 250 miles. And don't forget your label, miles. Don't forget if you're dealing with money, a dollar sign. Don't forget decimal points. Don't forget labels. Yes?
Are we able to put the abbreviation?
Yes, you can put MI. Of course. And then we have one last one, and I'm going to let you guys work on that, and then I'm going to give you a few more word problems. So thank you for joining us today. This concludes our lesson on ratios and proportions.